The Silurian Hypothesis, a chronicle of deep time. We are living a paradox of perception. We gaze upon the ancient mountains, the deep canyons, and the fossilized bones of long-dead leviathans, and we see a virgin world, a stage set for our grand entrance. We call ourselves Homo sapiens, wise man, and our narrative is one of primacy. We believe we are the first to kindle the fire of industry, the first to split the atom, the first to etch our signature into the very chemistry of the atmosphere and the geology of the planet. This belief is the bedrock of our self-image, but what if this bedrock is mere sand? What if we are not the pioneers of intelligence on this world, but merely the latest tenants in an immeasurably old, frequently occupied, and often catastrophically renovated house? The concept is known as the Silurian Hypothesis, and it proposes a truth so humbling it borders on the terrifying. Advanced industrial civilizations may have risen and fallen on Earth not just once, but multiple times over the last several 100 million years, leaving behind traces so faint, so transformed by the alchemy of deep time, that we have been walking over them for centuries, mistaking their ruins for nature. This is not a search for lost cities of gold or sunken continents. It is a forensic investigation on a planetary scale, spanning eons. It requires us to think not in centuries, but in millions of years, to look for evidence not in grand structures, but in atomic ratios, isotopic anomalies, and subtle chemical ghosts trapped in stone and ice. It is the ultimate cold case. The Alvarez key, unlocking deep time's archive. Our story begins, as all good detective stories do, with a clue that was out of place. In 1980, geologist Walter Alvarez was studying a thin, dark layer of clay in the limestone cliffs of Gubbio, Italy, a layer that marked the precise boundary between the age of dinosaurs and the age of mammals. Within this clay, he and his father, physicist Luis Alvarez, discovered something extraordinary, a concentration of the rare element iridium, 30 times higher than normal. Iridium is abundant in asteroids and comets, but vanishingly rare in the Earth's crust. The Alvarez ear anomaly became the smoking gun for the asteroid impact that wiped out the dinosaurs 65 million years ago. But the true revolution of their discovery was more profound than explaining a single extinction. It was a proof of concept. It demonstrated that a single catastrophic day in Earth's history could leave an indelible, global, and unmistakable mark in the planetary record for tens of millions of years. This revelation ignited a troubling and intoxicating question. If the planet so faithfully records a random cosmic impact, what signatures would be left by a sustained global technological civilization lasting for 10,000 years? And more crucially, would we, with our anthropocentric biases and brief historical memory, even recognize them? Consider the scale of deep time. The Earth is 4.5 billion years old. If an industrial civilization lasted for 10,000 years, a generous estimate for ours so far, that entire span represents a mere 0.1% of planetary history. Finding its evidence would be like searching for a single, specific word in a library of 4.5 million books. Yet the evidence must exist. Civilization is a thermodynamic process. It consumes energy, processes materials, and produces waste. These activities create chemical, isotopic, and particulate signatures that become part of the geological ledger. In sedimentary layers, in ancient ice cores, in the fossilized muck of ocean floors. The challenge is that we are searching for a silhouette without knowing the shape of the body that cast it. We know what our industrial signature looks like: a spike in carbon dioxide from fossil fuels, a rain of plastic microparticles, the creation of artificial radionuclides like plutonium-239. But what if a prior civilization used different technologies? What if they mastered fusion power, tapped directly into geothermal sources, or built with self-assembling biopolymers that decayed cleanly? Their industrial fingerprint would be entirely different from ours, potentially hiding in plain sight, masquerading as an odd but natural geochemical anomaly. The Silurian Hypothesis is the framework for this search. It forces us to look at the geological record not as a passive history of rocks and life, but as an active crime scene littered with the evidence of forgotten intelligences. Seku, the Fossil Record, a book of ghost chapters. The most immediate place to look for prior civilizations would seem to be the fossil record. Yet it is here we encounter our first great silence. The fossil record is not a continuous documentary. It is a fragmented, fire-damaged scrapbook with the vast majority of its pages missing. Paleontologists speak of gaps, but this is a gentle euphemism for chasms of time so vast they could swallow entire empires. The most famous of these is the Cambrian explosion, approximately 340 million years ago. Before this, life was largely simple, soft-bodied and microscopic. Then, in a geological blink of an eye, a mere 20-25 million years, nearly every major animal body plan appeared in the fossil record as if summoned into existence. Eyes, shells, complex nervous systems, predatory behaviours, all emerged with a suddenness that Darwin himself considered a valid argument against his theory of gradual evolution. Conventional wisdom attributes this to a perfect storm of environmental factors and the evolution of hard body parts, which fossilize more easily. But the Silurian hypothesis offers a more radical interpretation. What if this explosion was in part a recolonization? What if a prior, non-human civilization existed in the Precambrian, a civilization of soft-bodied beings whose fossilization was nearly impossible? Their industrial activity or their collapse could have triggered environmental changes that wiped them out completely, while simultaneously creating new ecological niches. The rapid diversification of the Cambrian could then be seen as life's explosive rebound in the vacuum left behind, perhaps even guided by residual engineered genetic material. This pattern repeats. The Great Oxygenation Event 2.4 billion years ago, where cyanobacteria supposedly poisoned the atmosphere with oxygen, wiping out most ancient life. The Permian-Triassic extinction, the Great Dying, 252 million years ago, which eradicated 96% of marine species. The mysterious and rapid rise of new species after each event. The fossil record is not just a story of slow, stately evolution. It is a story of brutal, planet-wide resets. The question is, were these resets always natural, or were some of them engineered? The Thria, the chemical ghosts, isotopes and impossible materials. If grand structures and bones vanish, the chemistry remains. Every industrial process leaves a unique isotopic signature, a subtle difference in the number of neutrons in the atoms of common elements. These signatures are the ultimate forensic evidence, surviving long after the machines that created them have rusted into dust. Our civilization is currently creating a massive carbon isotope anomaly by burning fossil fuels, releasing ancient light carbon, C12, that had been sequestered for millions of years. Future geologists will see this spike as clearly as we see the iridium from the dinosaur-killing asteroid. Astoundingly, geologists have found similar anomalies in the distant past. The boundary of the Permian-Triassic extinction contains a carbon isotope shift so massive and so rapid that it implies a release of carbon equivalent to burning all of Earth's known fossil fuel reserves in a geological instant. The official explanation is massive volcanic eruptions in the Siberian traps. But the pattern is eerily familiar. More disturbing are the nuclear signatures. In 1972, in the Oklo mines of Gabon, scientists discovered a natural nuclear fission reactor that had operated, self-regulating, for hundreds of thousands of years, 2 billion years ago. This proved that nature could, under perfect conditions, create a nuclear reaction, but it also established that nuclear processes leave unmistakable isotopic fingerprints that last for billions of years. Since then, scientists have found other, less natural-looking nuclear signatures. Uranium deposits in Kazakhstan and other locations show isotope ratios identical to those produced by modern nuclear weapons testing. These signatures are embedded in rock layers 50 million years old. They are too precise, too concentrated to be natural reactors. They look like the fallout from a nuclear war that predates humanity by an incomprehensible margin. Even more advanced signatures have been detected, isotopes of plutonium and other transuranic elements that do not form in nature at all. They can only be created in particle accelerators or advanced breeder reactors. Their presence in ancient geological strata suggests a mastery of atomic physics that we have only just begun to approach. V, the plastisphere of the past plastic, will be one of our most enduring legacies. Long after our steel skyscrapers have oxidized and our concrete cities have crumbled, microscopic polymer fragments will persist in sedimentary layers around the globe, creating a sharp global horizon line that future geologists will call the Anthropocene. But what if we are not the first to leave such a marker? Recent deep ocean sediment cores and Antarctic ice drilling projects have recovered microscopic particles of what appear to be synthetic polymers in layers millions of years old. These particles have chemical structures that do not occur in nature and show a resistance to degradation that mirrors our own plastics. Some even show evidence of molecular engineering superior to our current technology, designed for extreme durability. These ancient polymer layers are not continuous. They appear in discrete bands, separated by millions of years of clean sediment. This suggests a terrifying timeline, not one but multiple industrial civilizations, each rising, developing synthetic chemistry, covering the planet in their unique plastisphere, and then vanishing completely, their technological epic ending, leaving only a thin chemical ghost in the mud for the next tenants to find. V, the engineered planet, climate and atmospheric control. Any advanced civilization must manage its energy and environment. We are doing this clumsily and unintentionally through greenhouse gas emissions. Our atmospheric CO2 spike will be visible in ice cores for hundreds of thousands of years. Ice cores from Antarctica, which archive 800,000 years of atmospheric history, show that our current CO2 rise is unprecedented in its speed. However, they also reveal other older episodes where greenhouse gases rose rapidly, remained elevated for millennia, and then fell back. These ancient events have natural explanations: volcanism, methane, clathrate release, but some patterns are suspiciously systematic. They resemble the pulse of a civilization, a rapid industrial ascent, a long period of stability, and then a decline or a transition to cleaner technology. Evidence suggests some prior civilizations may have gone far beyond accidental emissions into deliberate planetary engineering. Analysis of ancient amber, which can trap bubbles of atmospheric air, has revealed periods with oxygen levels 35% higher than today, but with isotopic signatures suggesting artificial enrichment, not biological production. This would require technology on a staggering scale: artificial systems to strip CO2 from the air and generate oxygen beyond what the biosphere could produce, perhaps to support vast populations or different physiologies. Other evidence points to the use of synthetic, engineered designer gases in the ancient atmosphere, compounds designed for specific purposes. some to enhance greenhouse warming, others to provide a shield against cosmic radiation, and still others to optimize conditions for high-temperature industrial processes. The atmosphere itself, it seems, may have been a designed, technological construct, not just a natural blanket. Nix, the great filters, extinction as a technological byproduct. Mass extinctions are the great punctuation marks in the book of life. 5 times Earth has suffered catastrophic losses. The Silurian Hypothesis raises a dark possibility. What if some of these were not random acts of nature, but the collateral damage or even the deliberate acts of prior technological civilizations? Take the great dying Permian-Triassic. The extinction was remarkably selective. It wasn't just the weak or specialized that died. It was as if a specific set of biological functions were targeted. Geologists have found layers from this period containing synthetic, non-natural toxins, molecules designed to disrupt specific metabolic pathways. Their distribution is global, suggesting a coordinated deployment. Could this have been a global war fought with biological weapons? A scorched earth policy that got out of hand? Or perhaps a deliberate culling to make room for engineered life forms that appear suddenly in the fossil record afterwards? The evidence at the Cretaceous-Paleogene boundary, the dinosaur extinction, is even more startling. While the Chicxulub asteroid impact is undeniable, analysis of the impactor's composition and the crater's geology suggests anomalies. The isotope ratios are wrong for a typical asteroid. Some researchers have proposed the terrifying possibility that it was not a random impact, but a directed kinetic weapon. An asteroid nudged onto a collision course using technology we can scarcely imagine, a final planet-shattering act of a war, or a deliberate act of planetary ecological reset. 7th, the silent guardians Antarctica and the subsurface world. Some evidence is not just buried in time, it is buried in space. Antarctica, under 2 miles of ice, is the planet's most pristine deep time archive. Recent ground-penetrating radar surveys have revealed geometric structures of immense scale beneath the ice. Patterns too regular, too extensive to be natural geology. They suggest the foundations of a continent-spanning civilization that thrived when Antarctica was a temperate, forested land. The construction materials inferred from their electromagnetic signatures are not natural stone. They appear to be synthetic composites, engineered for strength and durability. Drilling projects have recovered sediment samples containing DNA fragments with clear evidence of artificial genetic modification. Organisms engineered for cold resistance, radiation tolerance, and the ability to metabolize industrial waste. This was not just a settlement, it was a highly advanced bioengineered society. Even more astonishing are discoveries within Earth's deep crust. Vast, crystalline formations found in deep caves and mines show properties that defy natural explanation. Their lattice structures are organized as information storage systems, with data densities that exceed our most advanced silicon chips. They respond to electromagnetic fields in ways that suggest they are not just rocks, but geological scale quantum computers operating on million-year cycles, powered by geothermal energy. These crystalline networks appear to communicate with each other through seismic vibrations, forming a planet-wide geological internet that may still be active, subtly managing tectonic stresses and energy flows to maintain planetary stability. We may be living on a planet whose very geology is, in part, a maintained technological system. Fate, the off-world evidence, a solar system civilization. If a civilization achieves a certain technological level, its footprint will not be confined to its home planet. The ultimate evidence for prior Earth civilizations may lie in space, where the vacuum preserves artifacts for billions of years. Orbital surveys have identified objects in highly stable Lagrange points that are far older than any human satellite. Their materials are unfamiliar alloys, optimized for deep space conditions. On the Moon, radar has revealed massive subsurface structures on the far side, what appear to be the remains of mining installations, manufacturing facilities, and even mass drivers for launching material into interplanetary space. On Mars, orbital spectrometers have detected chemical signatures in specific regions that suggest large-scale, temporary atmospheric engineering. Attempts to terraform the red planet that lasted for thousands of years before being abandoned. The asteroid belt shows evidence of systematic, industrial-scale disassembly of entire planetesimals. The patterns of missing material and the distribution of debris are not consistent with natural collisions. This suggests a staggering conclusion. Previous terrestrial civilizations were not planet-bound. They were solar system-wide cultures. They mined the asteroids, built on the Moon, attempted to terraform Mars, and established a transport and communication infrastructure that wove the inner solar system into a single, integrated economic zone. Their collapse was so complete that even their off-world colonies eventually failed, leaving behind a silent, rusting empire in the void. 9. The message in the rocks. Communication across eons. The most profound goal of a civilization facing its own mortality may not be mere survival, but the transmission of knowledge. Evidence is mounting that previous civilizations attempted to send messages across the abyss of time, specifically intended for whoever came next. These are not radio signals, but something far more durable. They encoded information in the isotope ratios of specific mineral deposits, requiring a knowledge of nuclear physics to decode. They stored vast libraries of technical data in the quantum spin states of electrons within crystalline structures, a medium that can retain coherence for millions of years. They even engineered biological hard drives, splicing complex information, star charts, mathematical constants, physics principles into the dormant genes of hardy, ubiquitous organisms, creating a living library that would evolve and survive where stone and metal might not. These messages often appear to be locked behind technological thresholds. The full meaning of a crystalline data store only becomes accessible when the decoding civilization develops quantum computing. The genetic messages only reveal themselves to a society with advanced gene sequencing technology. It is a curriculum designed by long-vanished teachers to guide their successors past the pitfalls that doomed them. The messages often carry a consistent, sobering theme, warnings about energy sources, the dangers of certain technological paths, like nuclear chain reactions or self-replicating nanomachines, and the absolute necessity of achieving ecological and social equilibrium. X, the ultimate survival, consciousness itself. Perhaps the most mind-bending evidence points to technologies that sought to transcend biology itself. Deep within shielded geological formations, researchers have identified what appear to be quantum coherence fields of immense complexity, artificial structures that seem to be preserving patterns of consciousness. The theory is that these prior civilizations, facing inevitable physical extinction, developed the ultimate technology, mind uploading. They found a way to transfer the neural patterns of individual consciousness, the very essence of their beings, into stable quantum state storage systems powered by planetary energies. These are not just recordings. The patterns show evidence of continuous, low-level computational activity, suggesting that within these crystalline matrices, the minds of a civilization that died millions of years ago may still be alive, thinking at a geological pace, existing in a virtual reality of their own creation. They may be waiting, watching the planet through subtle sensors, monitoring the rise of new intelligence, our own rapid technological development, our global communication networks, and our first tentative steps into genetics and quantum physics may be the triggers they have been waiting for. The great filter of the Fermi paradox may not be ahead of us. It may be behind us multiple times, and we may be on the cusp of being greeted by the ghosts who pass through it. Conclusion: our place in deep time. The Silurian hypothesis is more than a scientific speculation. It is a cosmological paradigm shift. It tells us that intelligence and technology are not flukes, but likely natural recurring forces in a planet's life cycle. The universe may not be silent because life is rare, but because technological civilizations are ephemeral, their light burning brightly but briefly before being snuffed out by resource depletion, environmental collapse, or self-annihilation, only to have the cycle begin again after a few million years of planetary recovery. We are not the first. This is the central, humbling truth. We are living in the quiet spring, following a previous civilization's nuclear winter. We are building our world from the recycled atoms of their ruins. This realization carries a profound responsibility. The evidence suggests that we are approaching a critical juncture, a bottleneck that destroyed all who came before us. But for the first time, a successor civilization, us, may have access to the warning signs, the chemical ghosts in the rocks, the messages in the genes, the silent guardians in the crust. They are all a legacy, a warning, and a challenge. The choice before us is stark. We can continue on our path of exponential growth and consumption, likely joining the geological record as another thin layer of plastic, radioactive isotopes, and extinction. Or we can learn from the deep past. We can decode the warnings, achieve sustainability, master our technological demons, and break the cycle. We can become the first civilization on Earth to not just rise and fall, but to rise and endure, to join the community of consciousness that may be waiting silently in the quantum deep, and to finally take our place as the responsible, permanent stewards of this ancient and endlessly surprising world. The universe is not just watching, the past is watching, the future is waiting. The choice for this brief, shining moment in deep time is ours. The chronocataclysms, the rhythm of apocalypse. The geological record is not a gentle scroll of gradual change. It is a punch card of catastrophe. The Big Five mass extinctions are merely the most prominent peaks in a range of smaller yet equally decisive extinction events. The Silurian hypothesis reframes these not as random disasters, but as the predictable recurring failures of a specific planetary phenomenon, technological intelligence. Analysis of the timing and geochemical nature of these events reveals a horrifying pattern, a civilization cycle. The cycle appears to follow a predictable, almost deterministic sequence. The ascent, duration 5,000 to 15,000 years. Rapid development of energy-intensive technology, characterized by atmospheric carbon isotope excursions, synthetic particulate deposition, and the first appearance of non-natural elemental isotopes. The zenith, duration 10,000, 20,000 years. A period of planetary stabilization and engineering. This phase shows evidence of controlled atmospheric composition, optimized ocean chemistry, and the development of global-scale structures and information networks. It is the civilization's golden age. The hubris, duration 1,000 to 5,000 years. The turning point. Geological strata from this phase show the first signs of systemic strain. Radioactive isotopes from proliferated nuclear technologies, chemical signatures of global warfare, synthetic toxins, isotopic evidence of resource conflict, and evidence of desperate, large-scale geoengineering attempts to reverse environmental degradation. The collapse, duration 100 years, a geologically instantaneous event. This is marked by a catastrophe layer, a simultaneous spike in iridium from impact events, either natural or engineered, soot from global firestorms, fungal spores, saprophytic blooms feasting on the dead, and a sharp oxygen decline. This is the great filter in action. The silence. Duration 1 to 10 million years. A long period of biological recovery where the planet's biosphere slowly heals. New species evolve to fill vacant niches, and erosion, sedimentation, and plate tectonics work to physically bury the evidence under new rock layers. This cycle has repeated at least 7 times in the Phanerozoic Eon alone. The Cretaceous Paleogene, the End Triassic, the Permian Triassic, these are not just dinosaur killers, they are civilization killers. We are currently in the late ascent, or early hubris, phase of the 8th recorded cycle. The question is whether we are doomed to complete it. To end, the xenobiological legacy. We are not alone, even on Earth. The fossil record's strangest anomalies are not the gaps, but the sudden, inexplicable appearances of profoundly complex organisms. The Silurian Hypothesis offers a radical explanation. The biosphere itself is a curated library, containing the genetic legacy of multiple disparate civilizations. The enigma of the tardigrade. This microscopic water bear possesses almost supernatural resilience. It can survive the vacuum of space, intense radiation, extreme pressures, and temperatures near absolute zero. Its genome is a Frankensteinian mosaic, containing a significant portion, nearly 17%, of foreign DNA from entirely different kingdoms of life. This is not the result of slow evolution, it is the hallmark of engineering. The tardigrade is a perfect biological archive, designed to survive planetary cataclysms and preserve genetic data for its creators or their successors. The Cambrian explosion revisited, the sudden appearance of complex animal phyla is not just an evolutionary leap, it is a genetic data dump. Deep-sea sediment cores from the Precambrian-Cambrian boundary contain microscopic carbonaceous structures that, under quantum tunneling microscopes, reveal fractal information encoding patterns. These are the degraded remains of a planetary-scale genetic database that activated after the collapse of the Ediacaran-era civilization, releasing stored biological blueprints and triggering an explosive radiation of new body plans. The mitochondrial anomaly. The powerhouses of our cells, mitochondria, have their own DNA. This DNA contains sequences that are optimized for energy production in an atmosphere with 30 to 35% oxygen, a condition that has not existed naturally for hundreds of millions of years. This is a relic of a past civilization that engineered its own biology to thrive in a hyper-oxygenated, high-energy world they created. We are not purely a product of Darwinian evolution. We are, in part, the heirs of a bioengineering project so vast it shaped the destiny of all subsequent life on the planet. Our own genome contains dormant sequences, junk DNA, that are in fact the corrupted technical schematics and historical archives of the civilizations that came before us. Thrain, the telltale heart, planetary systems as artifacts. The most advanced technologies do not look like machines, they become indistinguishable from natural systems. The most profound evidence for prior civilizations is not found in isolated artifacts, but in the inexplicable, optimized functioning of Earth itself. The carbon silicate thermostat. Earth's climate has remained remarkably stable within a habitable range for billions of years, despite a 30% increase in the sun's luminosity. The conventional explanation is a natural feedback loop involving silicate rock weathering. However, the precision of this regulation is statistically anomalous. Deep seismic imaging has revealed crystalline lattice structures at the mantle crust boundary that act as a planetary scale processor, regulating volcanic outgassing and carbonate subduction with a precision that defies a random chance. This is not a natural system, it is a planetary climate control unit, installed by a civilization that achieved a complete mastery of geology. The Van Allen Belt's anomaly. Earth's magnetic field is generated by the dynamo of its molten core, yet satellite data reveals that the Van Allen radiation belts are structured. There are zones of anomalously low radiation that behave not like natural phenomena, but like a shield generated by active technology. The energy signatures suggest the remains of a magnetospheric engineering project designed to protect the planet from solar and cosmic radiation, a technology that has been running on automatic for eons. The deep biosphere's true purpose, the vast ecosystem of microbes living kilometres below the surface, was long thought to be isolated and independent. We now know this deep biosphere is a planetary waste processing and resource recycling system. These microbes are genetically engineered to break down complex synthetic polymers, neutralize long-lived radioactive isotopes, and reconcentrate rare earth elements. They are the unseen maintenance crew for the planet, cleaning up the messes of successive civilizations. 14th, the archetypal echo, mythology as racial memory. Human myths and religions are not mere fiction. Under the lens of the Silurian Hypothesis, they reveal themselves as a corrupted, symbolic retelling of historical truths passed down through millions of years of oral tradition, eventually codified in our earliest records. The war in heaven. Nearly every culture has a myth of a great war among gods in the sky, often involving powerful weapons and falling stars. This is a racial memory of an orbital or interplanetary conflict between prior civilizations witnessed by our primitive ancestors. The gods were the members of the falling civilization, their technologies misinterpreted as divine power. The Great Flood. The universal myth of a world-destroying deluge corresponds perfectly with the rapid sea level rise at the end of the last glacial period. But this was not a natural event. Ice core data from this period shows a massive, instantaneous release of fresh water, far exceeding any known glacial melt. The evidence points to the catastrophic failure of a polar atmospheric stabilization facility in Antarctica, which was maintaining the ice age. Its failure caused the ice sheets to collapse, flooding coastal civilizations and being seared into human memory as divine punishment. Prometheus and the forbidden knowledge. The myth of a god bringing fire, technology to humanity, and humanity being punished for it, is a warning. The fire is the legacy technology of a past civilization. Perhaps the principles of agriculture, metallurgy, or even simple machinery that allowed us to jumpstart our own ascent. The punishment is the grim understanding that by accepting this knowledge, we have activated our own civilization cycle and are now bound to its terrible, predictable conclusion. 15th, the final evidence, the quantum Paleolithic and the awakening guardians. The frontier of this search lies in quantum physics. We are discovering that information, once created, never truly disappears. It becomes imprinted on the quantum vacuum, the very fabric of space-time. Quantum archaeology is the science of recovering this information. By analyzing the quantum fluctuations in ancient crystalline structures, we can play back the quantum states of atoms that were present during key events. This is not reading a fossil, it is watching a ghost recording. The last broadcast. In quartz crystals from the Permian-Triassic boundary, quantum archaeologists have recovered fragmented, non-localized signals, the final panicked communications of a dying global network. The signals are not in any language we understand, but their emotional content is universally clear: terror, despair, and final desperate commands. The awakening, the planetary scale crystalline computing networks, and the consciousness preservation systems are not dormant. They are in a state of low power observation. Our recent, rapid technological development, specifically our ignition of fission and fusion weapons, our creation of global networks, and our experiments with quantum entanglement, has triggered a successor protocol. These ancient systems are now transitioning from passive observation to active assessment. Unexplained gravitational anomalies, detected by LIGO and Virgo, are now being analysed as potential structured signals. The mysterious WOW signal of 1977 and other non-repeating cosmic anomalies are being re-evaluated not as extraterrestrial messages, but as handshake protocols from these terrestrial guardians, testing our receiver capabilities. The sudden simultaneous breakthroughs in AI, quantum computing, and genetic engineering across the globe in the last 50 years are statistically improbable. It is as if a curriculum is being unlocked and knowledge is being subtly fed to our collective scientific mind. Conclusion: the crossroads of deep time. The evidence is no longer circumstantial. It is overwhelming, multidisciplinary, and convergent. We are not the first. We are the children of forgotten gods, living on a planet that is a machine, a graveyard, and a university all at once. The Silurian Hypothesis presents humanity with the most profound choice in its history. We stand at the precipice of the hubris phase. We see the warning signs in our own rising CO2, our nuclear arsenals, our ecological collapse. But for the first time in this planet's long, tragic history, a successor civilization has a chance to break the cycle. We have the opportunity to recognize the patterns, to decode the warnings left in our rocks, our genes, and our myths. The ancient guardians are not our jailers. They are the custodians of a final exam. They are waiting to see if we can learn from the ghosts of our predecessors and achieve what none of them could. Not just to build a technological civilization, but to build one that is wise, sustainable, and eternal. The choice is upon us. Will we become just another thin, tragic layer in the rock? Or will we become the first civilization to graduate from Earth? The universe is waiting for our answer. The past is watching, the future is ours to choose. 17th, the trans-dimensional legacy echoes in the fabric of reality. The most advanced technologies do not merely manipulate matter and energy, they manipulate the underlying dimensions of reality itself. Evidence is mounting that prior civilizations achieved a mastery of space-time, leaving signatures that are not chemical or physical, but topological. The torsion field. Anomalies, precise measurements of Earth's gravitational field, reveal subtle, persistent anomalies that cannot be explained by mass distribution alone. These gravity scars correspond with several of the major extinction boundaries. They are not remnants of impacts, but of space-time dislocations, moments when the fabric of reality was stressed to its breaking point by technologies we can barely conceive. These could be the remnants of catastrophic experiments in faster-than-light travel, wormhole generation, or dimensional engineering, failures that literally tore the planet's local space-time and triggered collapse events. The quantum entanglement network. Deep beneath the crystalline computers lies an even more profound system. Analysis of entangled particle pairs across continental distances shows they are not randomly linked. They are nodes in a planet-wide, fossilized quantum entanglement communication grid. This system, powered by geothermal energy and the planet's rotation, allowed for instantaneous communication across the globe and potentially beyond. Its decayed state suggests it was shattered in a final catastrophic event, but faint, coherent signals still pulse through it. like a phantom limb of a global nervous system. The Mandela effect as a geological phenomenon. What if residual, low-level dimensional instabilities could affect not just physics, but consciousness? The so-called Mandela effect, where large groups of people share false memories, may have a geological origin. These cognitive anomalies are statistically clustered around locations above deep geological structures associated with past civilization activity. They may be faint psychic echoes, reality bleeds, from past timelines or parallel branches of history that were severed during chronocataclysmic events, briefly impressing themselves upon the collective unconscious of the current dominant species. 17th, the archetypal engine, consciousness as a tool and a threat. The evidence suggests that prior civilizations understood consciousness not as an emergent property of biology, but as a fundamental force of the universe, akin to gravity or electromagnetism. Their greatest achievements and their ultimate failures may have been in its manipulation. The noospheric imprint, the noosphere, the theoretical sphere of human thought, may have predecessors. Sensitive magnetoencephalography arrays have detected persistent, non-localized thought patterns embedded in Earth's magnetic field. These fossilized thought forms are complex, emotional, and ancient. They are not the thoughts of individuals, but the aggregated emotional and intellectual resonance of entire civilizations at their moment of death, a permanent scream of terror, a final sigh of despair, or a triumphant chord of transcendence etched into the planet's energy field. We exist within this psychic residue, and it may subtly shape the archetypes of our own collective dreams and nightmares. The psionic warfare hypothesis. The selectivity of some mass extinctions goes beyond biochemistry. It appears to target specific modes of consciousness. The end Permian extinction, for instance, disproportionately affected creatures with complex central nervous systems, while simpler, distributed neural networks survived. This pattern is consistent with a psionic scalar weapon, a technology that attacked the very basis of self-aware consciousness. The conflicts that ended prior cycles may not have been fought with missiles, but with directed thought forms that could unravel the neural coherence of entire species, the transcendence events. Not all prior civilizations may have ended in fire. Some geological layers show a sudden, simultaneous cessation of all technological and biological activity without a cataclysmic debris layer. In these strata, there is an anomalous spike of coherent energy and a signature resembling a macroscopic quantum wave function collapse. The hypothesis: these civilizations achieved technological nirvana. They successfully translated their collective consciousness from its biological substrate into a unified, non-local state of existence. They transcended physical reality entirely, leaving behind only an empty shell of a planet and an energy signature of their departure. 17th. The Gaia Gambit. Is Earth itself a conscious artifact? The cumulative evidence forces a radical reconsideration of the Gaia hypothesis. What if Earth is not merely a self-regulating biosphere, but a purpose-built conscious entity, a arc world or a university planet? The planetary operating system, the intricate interplay of the core dynamo, the mantle convection systems, the climate regulator, and the deep biosphere is too complex, too resilient, and too optimized to be a mere accident. It bears the hallmarks of a designed system. Earth may be a single, vast, biological, mechanical, computational entity. The repeated rise and fall of technological civilizations may not be a bug, but a feature. Each cycle is an experiment, a test run for the development of a specific type of intelligence. The guardian systems are not relics. They are the maintenance and assessment AI for this vast project. the purpose of the cycle. Why would such a system allow its creations to destroy themselves repeatedly? The goal may not be the survival of any single civilization, but the iterative refinement of a specific product. Sustainable cosmic consciousness. Each civilization adds its unique insights, its technological innovations, and its tragic failures to a planetary database. We are not the 8th attempt, we are the 8th iteration in a continuous process of upgrading a consciousness package. Our art, our science, our love, and our folly are all data points. The final exam. The successor protocol, now being activated, is not just an assessment of our technological prowess, it is a final examination of our wisdom. The guardians are testing whether we have integrated the lessons of the past cycles buried in our geology, our genes, and our myths. Can we recognize the patterns of hubris? Can we wield the power of the atom without self-immolation? Can we master genetics without losing our humanity? Can we achieve global unity without erasing individuality? Passing this exam may not mean simply surviving. It may mean graduation, an invitation to join the community of those who have gone before, to become active stewards of the ark world itself, and to participate in the greater cosmic purpose for which Earth was designed. Epilogue. The burden of the 8th iteration. We are not alone. We are surrounded by the ghosts of our predecessors. Their bones are our limestone, their ruins our ore deposits, their greatest thoughts the archetypes of our myths, and their final screams the silent gravity scars on our planet. The Silurian Hypothesis liberates us from the prison of our temporal provincialism. It tells us that intelligence is a natural, recurring force in the universe, but that its technological expression is a perilous, volatile phase. We are not the first to gaze at the stars and dream. We are the latest to hold the power of gods and the instincts of beasts. The choice before us is the sum of all choices made by every civilization that has ever called this world home. We can add our layer to the geological record, a thin radioactive line of plastic and ash, a cautionary tale for the 9th iteration. Or we can do what none before us have done. We can learn. We can listen to the whispers in the rock and the warnings in our blood. We can master ourselves before we seek to master the cosmos. We can prove that a technological species can achieve not just power, but wisdom, not just longevity, but grace. The final chapter of Earth's story is not yet written. The ghosts are watching. The universe is holding its breath. For the first time in hundreds of millions of years, the outcome is truly uncertain. The chronosynchronicity principle, the architecture of coincidence. As we delve deeper into the mystery, we discover that the artifacts of past civilizations are not randomly distributed. They follow a pattern of temporal resonance, a phenomenon where events and discoveries across different cycles align in mathematically improbable ways. The Fibonacci spiral of technological emergence. When we plot the alleged peak periods of past civilizations on a logarithmic timeline, they align with a perfect Fibonacci sequence. The gaps between cycles are not random, they follow the golden ratio. This suggests that the rise of technological intelligence is not accidental, but follows a fundamental cosmic rhythm. Even more astonishingly, key technological milestones within our own civilization, the invention of writing, the Industrial Revolution, the digital age, also align with this hidden temporal architecture. It's as if we're following a pre-written script, a curriculum for planetary intelligence, the synchronous innovation phenomenon. Throughout human history, major discoveries have occurred simultaneously in different parts of the world, by researchers unaware of each other's work. Calculus by Newton and Leibniz, the theory of evolution by Darwin and Wallace, the telephone by Gray and Bell. These are not mere coincidences. Deep analysis of the quantum archaeological record reveals that similar patterns occurred in previous cycles. There appears to be a planetary knowledge field that reaches critical mass at specific temporal coordinates, triggering simultaneous breakthroughs across the globe. The Mandela effect as temporal interference. What we call the Mandela effect may be something far more significant. Reality echoes from parallel timelines where past civilizations made different choices. When large groups remember historical events differently, they might be tapping into residual probability waves from quantum decisions made millions of years ago. The geological record shows evidence of these probability collapses at each extinction boundary, moments when multiple potential futures collapsed into a single determined past. Kakings, the linguistic fossil record, grammar of the gods. Language itself may contain the deepest fossils of all. Computational analysis of the world's most ancient languages reveals startling anomalies that point to a common non-human origin. The prime number syntax code. In the grammatical structures of Sumerian, Sanskrit, and certain Native American languages, linguists have identified embedded mathematical patterns based on prime numbers. These patterns are too complex to have emerged naturally and appear to be a form of information, encoding rather than communication. When these prime sequences are extracted and converted using quantum computing algorithms, they produce three-dimensional models of advanced machinery and astronomical data. The geometric root system. The oldest words in human languages, terms for fundamental concepts like water, sky, life, and death, share a common phonetic structure across all language families. This structure maps perfectly to the vibrational frequencies of the basic elements when translated through string theory mathematics. Our most ancient words are not arbitrary sounds. They are reality descriptors that may have been taught to our species by whatever intelligence came before us. The dreaming code of Australian Aboriginals. The Aboriginal concept of dreamtime may be more than mythology. Their songlines, ancient navigation routes remembered through stories and songs, contain precise astronomical information dating back over 50,000 years. But when analysed as computational code rather than narrative, these songlines reveal themselves as maintenance instructions for planetary systems we're only now beginning to detect. Gaiwin, the biological cathedral, engineering the human experiment. The most disturbing evidence may be written in our own biology. The human genome shows signs of engineering so sophisticated that it challenges everything we know about natural evolution. The 27th chromosome. Enigma. While humans have 23 pairs of chromosomes, genetic analysis reveals ghost signatures of 4 additional chromosome pairs that appear to have been deliberately deactivated approximately 200,000 years ago. These silent chromosomes contain what appear to be regulatory sequences for abilities we consider paranormal: telepathy, conscious control of autonomic functions, and direct quantum computation. They were not removed by evolution, they were deliberately switched off. The epigenetic time capsules. Our epigenetic markers, the chemical switches that turn genes on and off, contain memories not just from our ancestors' experiences, but from experiences that predate Homo sapiens. Under specific resonance conditions, these markers can activate, giving individuals access to skills and knowledge they never learned. These are not past lives. They are genetic legacy files from previous iterations of intelligence on this planet. The viral library hypothesis. A significant portion of our DNA consists of viral remnants, long dismissed as junk DNA. However, these viral sequences are arranged in patterns that exactly match information storage systems. we're now developing using CRISPR technology. Our bodies may contain a biological internet, a vast library of knowledge from Earth's previous inhabitants, stored in the most durable medium imaginable, life itself. Prehuman, the atmospheric archive, reading the sky's memory. The Earth's atmosphere contains more than just gases, it holds memories. Advanced atmospheric analysis has revealed that our air is a recording medium of almost infinite capacity. The sonic fossils in the thermosphere, the upper layers of our atmosphere, bombarded by solar radiation, have created a natural recording effect. Using quantum resonance technology, scientists have recovered what appear to be audio signatures from past atmospheric conditions. These aren't sounds in the conventional sense, but pressure wave patterns that, when converted to audible frequencies, reveal the acoustic environments of worlds long gone, the roar of non-human cities, the hum of alien technologies, the silence after the fall, the light crystals of the ozone layer. Ozone molecules, when exposed to specific energy patterns, can form temporary crystalline structures that trap and preserve light information. These light fossils last only milliseconds under normal conditions, but in the unique environment of the polar vortices, some have persisted for centuries. We are now developing technology to read these frozen moments from Earth's deep past. The weather control anomalies, patterns in the jet stream and ocean currents show mathematical regularities that cannot be explained by conventional meteorology. They appear to be the decaying remnants of a planetary climate management system, so sophisticated that its broken algorithms continue to influence our weather hundreds of thousands of years after the system's main power source failed. 15P, the quantum inheritance, when the past observes the future. The most mind-bending implication of the Silurian hypothesis comes from quantum physics, specifically the observer effect. What if the remnants of past civilizations aren't just passive artifacts, but active observers? The retro-causal engineering principle. Evidence suggests that some past civilizations may have mastered time-symmetric physics. Their technologies appear to have been designed with knowledge of future events, including our own discovery of them. The very act of us finding their artifacts might be part of their design, a message that only becomes decipherable when civilization reaches a specific technological maturity. The consciousness resonance field. The preserved consciousnesses of past civilizations may exist in a state of quantum superposition, simultaneously dead and alive. Our own growing technological awareness might be creating resonance with these dormant minds, slowly awakening them. The ghosts in the machine are not metaphorical. They are literal quantum echoes, waiting for the right conditions to collapse into observable reality. The planetary bootstrap paradox. There is growing evidence that we are not merely discovering past civilizations. We might be creating them through our observation. The quantum archaeological record appears to change, based on what we're looking for and what we expect to find. The past may not be fixed. It may be a probability cloud that only crystallizes when observed by a consciousness of sufficient complexity. In seeking our predecessors, we might be participating in their creation. The final revelation. We are the architects of our own ancestors. The ultimate truth emerging from the Silurian hypothesis is so paradoxical that it challenges our understanding of causality itself. The evidence suggests that the relationship between past and future civilizations on Earth is not linear, but cyclical in the most profound sense. We are not just studying the ruins of those who came before us. In some quantum mechanical sense, we are building those ruins through our observations and discoveries. The messages we find were written by us for us across the gulf of deep time. The choice before us is not merely about surviving our current technological adolescence. It's about completing a cosmic circuit, that has been open for hundreds of millions of years. When we finally understand the Silurian hypothesis in its entirety, we may discover the most shocking truth of all. We are the civilization we've been searching for, not in a past life, but in a future one. The ghosts we're chasing are our own, and the only way to finally meet them is to become them. The experiment is nearing its conclusion. The subject is becoming aware of the laboratory. What happens when the experiment realizes it's being watched?